it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
GM, and welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're taking a look at GBTC, that is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, with the overhang in the market right now. Let's talk about fees and let's talk about the bigger picture here. So if you're new here, make sure you do subscribe to the channel and let's jump in. So the Bitcoin chart here looks like it's starting to keel over a little bit, but a contrarian take from myself here, I do think we will have an overall positive week price action. I think what we're going to see here is that a lot of people are being psyoped into the, recency bias of last week wasn't very good. A lot of outflows from GBTC, bit of a sell the news event post the ETF. And so I think that kind of mental model for a lot of people just continues, and they think we're going to go lower and lower and lower. And as you can see, Bitcoin around $40,600 here this morning. Now let's start with a meme. So this is an absolute classic one, the old George Bush Twin Towers one. But with the text here, another 10,000 GBTC have just hit Coinbase Prime, sir. So this is the big event that we keep seeing on our timeline, funds flowing from GBTC Grayscale over into Coinbase to obviously be subsequently sold. Now, could GBTC be one of the biggest fumbles of all time? That is the question. So as you can see, Asterix, the world's largest Bitcoin ETF. These guys have a huge lead. Typically, when you are a market leader, you do get a bit of an unassailable lead and the winners continue to keep on winning. But this is not the case with Grayscale, in my opinion here, as they have very, very high management fees. And of course, a lot of the assets under management, they have been garnered from, I think, back to like 2013. Bitcoin back then, obviously quite a bit cheaper, and there was no way to actually exit Grayscale. So that with the ETF being approved here across the board, you now have an exit route from GBTC. So I think the GBTC overall AUM top was in, and now it will slowly decline as people move to more reputable entities in the space. So they were the largest, they had some legacy, and they say they were experts, but there's been quite a few illegal troubles. They're being sued by the Winklevoss twins. Barry Silbert nowhere to be found. And so I think GBTC is on the down and out. Now let's look at some information here. So Dan Crypto Trades posted this to clear up some common questions regarding Grayscale and GBTC. First and foremost, yes, they do hold over 500,000 Bitcoins. So the value of that is around $23 billion. Now, to continue with this theme, there is likely to continue to be a lot of investors who will want to sell their GBTC. So that's for a couple of reasons here. Point A being there was a lot of people who bought the GBTC discount. There was a big discount between GBTC and the net asset value, up to 50% if you think back to last year at certain points. And so people wanted to obviously make that return as the gap closed back up to zero, and they can cash out some huge profits. So of course, that is going to be a big factor here and a reason why GBTC does sell out. But secondly, a big point here is the fact there's a lot of other ETF providers on the market right now. And although Grayscale reduced their fees, they reduced them from 2% per annum down to just 1.5%. But that 1.5%, as I'll show you, versus the other providers out there, is still way, way, way too expensive. What we've also seen through the last week is point 3 here. A lot of the actual sales from GBTC, those outflows, have been absorbed by inflows of other providers, yet the price has continued to go down. And this is kind of overhanging the market. So I think this is kind of, more of a dark cloud across the industry. It affects people's mental models and the way they think about allocating capital to the markets. GBTC overhang equals bad. Thus, I will stay stabled up and I'll buy the dip at a later date. But here we can look at some of the information. So of course, the ETFs have been trading for 6 whole days at this point. Eric Balchunas with some data here. And you can see through these flows, some big inflows for the likes of Fidelity and iShares with the BlackRock ETF here. You can see their total across those 6 days. Number one, Fidelity, 1,282. That is $1 million worth of flows. And iBits from BlackRock there, 1,227. So just behind in second place. Third place, we have Bitwise. Fourth place, ARK, and then in fifth, Invesco there. So a lot of inflows have taken place, but if we just go down to Grayscale here, you can see minus 95, minus 484, minus 594, 460, and 582. So big outflows there, totaling 2,806. Again, that is in millions. So therefore, $2.8 billion worth of outflows. But overall, there were positive inflows. So the sum did end positively to the tune of $1.15 billion. So overall, I think there is a little bit of uncertainty here as there's this kind of overhang from GBTC, but overall the inflows have been positive thus far. So the question really lies on how long do the GBTC outflows continue for? Will they be as heavy as they were last week? Or was last week, some of the biggest outflows we're going to see as the people who wanted to flock away from GBTC have done so? And these kind of questions can only be answered by the data we start to see over this week and the following weeks that are yet to come. But if you just zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, there's been tons of actual inflows, and this is very much a positive thing for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And then when you couple this with the fact we have these institutions who are now soaking up a load of coins, 84 days away from the halving, I think soon we're going to see the marketing engines on crypto Twitter of people doing the math on how many coins have been soaked up by the ETFs versus how many coins actually hit the market via the miners each and every day. So currently the mining rewards on Bitcoin are 900 BTC mined each and every day. But once this date, approximately around the 16th of April hits, that'll be down to 450 Bitcoins being mined on the daily. So then we'll be able to work out when is the squeeze going to come if these numbers do persist and there's some big inflows into the spot Bitcoin ETFs, as there simply may not be enough coins to go around, and thus we will have a number go up technology once again. And typically the best marketing is number go up. So a quick look here at the fee structures from these ETF providers. And I filtered these by the actual fee percentage. As you can see, there's a wide chasm here. Grayscale at 1.5% is 3 times plus more expensive than the second most expensive fee taker here, which is Valkyrie at around half of a percentage point. You have the likes of Fidelity at 0.39%. And then the one that everyone has the most concentration on, of course, the iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT from BlackRock, 0.2% or 0.3%, depending on some of their introductory offers and time waivers there. So the question really is, are we going to see sustained flows out of GBTC? The likely answer is yes, because why would you not want to turn away from these guys here paying exorbitant fees? You can sell the position and then rebuy into one of these ETF providers and save yourself a huge percentage on those overall fee structures. And if you've got millions and millions of dollars to do this with, obviously these small, overall numbers, 1.2, 1.3% difference, they're going to add up to be a lot of money over especially a longer term time horizon. So why GBTC haven't reduced their fees further, I don't really know. It seems like a stupid business move. Maybe they thought they were in a good position here, having the biggest AUM, and that would be a huge selling point of themselves to others in the market, and people wouldn't for some reason want to leave them because they had the biggest AUM. I'm not really sure, but I think we'll see the likes of BlackRock and Fidelity continue to lead the way and eventually flip GBTC. If you just look at the numbers here, Bitcoin held just 30,000 and 33,000 for these number 1 and number 2 ETF providers here in the US, and Grayscale still has over 500,000. So a lot of coins still to be churned around from these different entities. Now let's just listen into this quick clip from Anthony Scaramuci as he provides a different take on the movements here.
You have lots of investors that went into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at 2%. They bought it at the Bitcoin at 50,000, 60,000, 69,000. And so when the ETF became available and they were able to sell the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and take a loss for tax purposes, and you guys know this, they have to wait 30 days before they can reload. But it's a great arbitrage for these people. They can go from a 2% trust into a 21 basis point ETF, and they have to wait, and there's a lot of churn and a lot of volume churn as a result of that. But
So the point he's making here is that there's a potential issue as well around people tax loss harvesting the actual ETF. If they bought at a bit of a peak previously and they're trying to reduce their tax liabilities by selling GBTC now, they would have to wait 30 days as per the rules in the US to rebuy their positions. So this could also provide some fuel to the fire around a month out, as those people could well be looking to reallocate into the markets approximately 30 days later as a bit of a strategic move there. So that is something I hadn't heard being talked about previously, and a little bit of extra color here on the GBTC trade. Now, in terms of bigger picture, this was from Vance Spencer around a few weeks back. And he says, look, there's $6 trillion sat in T-bills right now. And once the S&P 500 hits a new all-time high, there would be an acknowledgement that we are now in a new bull market. And it's hard to actually be unallocated whilst the market is ripping into new all-time highs. And he thinks a lot of people would come in off the sidelines, and thus, as he says, the money must flow. Now, subsequent to this, the S&P 500 last week and the Nasdaq both breached new all-time highs. So both of those markets are now in price discovery. And so what we could see is a bit of a ramping up of the bull market in TradFi, which of course will eventually spill over into crypto. So in terms of the bigger picture here, we have, yes, a bit of a gray cloud around Grayscale, but this potentially is a huge opportunity for those who have A, cash on hand, B, good cash flow, or 3, have been sidelined throughout the whole of the kind of run up since late 2023. Because if we do get these discounts on hand right about now, and over the next few weeks, those are going to be buy the dip opportunities. And I do think a lot of people will miss the wood from the trees, that a lot of things really are in our favor right now. You have the biggest asset managers on the world shilling Bitcoin. We're 90 days out from the halving. All of these traditional markets in the US are pumping to new all-time highs. And essentially with the high interest rates on those T-bill accounts, all the rich people have had stimmies for a long while now and will be looking to take on additional risk in the markets, especially if things do continue in this bullish posturing. And of course, we have the US elections coming up, Trump seemingly doing well right now, which of course, typically you would expect to pump markets further. So it does seem like a lot of things are aligned, and we should have a very bullish 2024 once this gray cloud is out the way. But this is the opportunity, whilst there is uncertainty, whilst some of the tourists who have recently come in and bought tops start to get a bit washed out, I see this nothing other than being bullish. So overall messaging here, GBTC, yes, we'll have to see how this does play out. We're going to see a bit of a churn from GBTC into these other ETF providers. Maybe there's a bit of a time lag here, but I do think the psychological kind of, there's a gray cloud in the industry. People expect that to be bearish. This could well cause prices to continue to slump, maybe continue consolidating to the right. But once we do eventually get past this gray cloud, there's not that many others on the horizon at this point. So buckle up, strap in, and continue to DCA like your life depends on it. Remember, if you aren't holding the magical internet beans, there's no way to actually change your life for the positive. Hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.